Chosen one. Time is trembling. The clock stands at 11:59 p.m. and heaven itself has paused to look upon you. You feel it, the silence before the strike, the air thick with divine electricity. It is not coincidence that you are hearing this now. This is the minute before midnight, where destinies are sealed and callings are confirmed. You were never meant to be asleep when eternity whispered your name. The world may think it is just another night, but your spirit knows better. You can sense the unseen movement, the angelic footsteps pacing on invisible floors, the breath of heaven holding still. For you, chosen one, this is not the end. This is the beginning disguised as a warning. The hands of the divine clock are aligning with your obedience. You stand between what was and what is to come. In this sacred second, your heart begins to race, not with fear but with recognition. You remember the seasons where everything seemed delayed, dreams that didn't bloom, prayers that returned in silence. You thought you were forgotten, but now you realize heaven was timing everything for this exact minute. There was once a chosen one much like you. She waited through years of quiet nights, clutching promises that felt heavy with dust. Every voice told her to give up, but she held on, lighting a single candle every night and whispering, "I still believe." When her 11:59 came, everything shifted. The door that was sealed for years swung open in a single moment. That same wind is moving toward you now. Listen carefully. This is not fear, it is divine urgency. When heaven speaks at 11:59, it is not to frighten, but to awaken. God is calling your name in the language of time. Each second is a heartbeat of mercy. You have been wandering in waiting, but the waiting has been shaping you. The crushing has been crafting the oil you will pour when your purpose finally bursts forth. The air feels strange because you are standing at the edge of fulfillment. Shadows may whisper, trying to convince you that you missed your moment, that you are too late, too broken, too behind. But no, 11:59 is not too late. It is right on time. The enemy wants you to fear the closing of the hour, but heaven wants you to prepare for the opening of your crown. The prophet Haggai once declared, in chapter 2, verse 6, "This is what the Lord says, in a little while I will shake the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the dry land." Yes, heaven shakes not to destroy you, but to awaken you. The shaking comes to break chains, not hearts. Every tremor you feel is a reminder that something holy is moving beneath the surface of your life. Chosen one. At 11:59 p.m. Decisions matter more than ever. Heaven is watching, not in condemnation, but in expectation. The same God who waited for Moses in the wilderness, for Esther in the palace, for David in the fields, is waiting for you to say, yes. You are being invited to step into the prophecy written over your life. If you listen closely, you can hear the Spirit whisper, "Stay awake." The difference between 11:59 p.m. and midnight is one breath, one choice, one heartbeat of obedience. Your yes can shift nations. Your surrender can rewrite timelines. This isn't about fear of missing out. It's about faith to step in. When the minute hand trembles, it is not the end of grace. It's the doorway of transformation. God is not late. He's precise. And right now, He's calling your spirit to rise before the clock strikes 12. Before this section ends, pause and reflect. You are not watching by chance. you were led here by design. If this message touches your spirit, share it so it can reach another who stands on the edge of their own 11:59. Write in the comments the number 111 as a sign that you choose to stay awake and ready for what God is about to release. Subscribe if you wish to continue walking with others who hear the same midnight call. The last seconds tick softly, but they are not your end, they are your invitation. Step into them with courage, because when midnight comes, those who are awake will rise with new power, new clarity, new fire. The countdown has started, but you are not late. You are right on divine time. You were not meant to sleep through this hour. Something in your spirit stirs, an unseen pulse tugging you toward awareness. The world drifts in its endless noise, but heaven is whispering your name through the stillness. You can almost feel the hand of time brushing against your soul, urging you to wake. There are moments when God speaks not in thunder, but in pauses. This is one of them. The silence that surrounds you is not emptiness, it is invitation. When everything goes quiet, heaven is asking you to listen. For many, silence feels like distance, but for the chosen, silence becomes the classroom of revelation. You have been here before, the season where prayers echo back unanswered, where days blur into waiting, and the heart wonders if heaven still remembers your name. Yet every delay has purpose. You wanted movement, but God wanted maturity. You wanted a sign, but He wanted surrender. You thought He was delaying your promise, but He was preparing your capacity to hold it. Like a seed hidden in darkness, you were buried not to die, but to root. There was once a man named Elior, a watcher of stars. Every night he stood on a lonely hill, waiting for a light that never appeared. People mocked his faith and told him to stop believing in what he couldn't see. But Elior kept returning, guided by the faint memory of a voice that had once called him set apart. One night, when the world slept, the stars trembled and fire streaked across the sky. The light he had longed for arrived all at once, and in that brilliance, he heard a whisper. The silence was never absence, it was preparation. Ah, so it is with you. The silence you fear is not punishment, it is protection. The absence of noise is making room for the sound of His next command. Every unanswered prayer, every quiet season, every delay is heaven carving out space for clarity. The very stillness that feels empty is where God builds the next chapter. According to what is written in the book of Proverbs, chapter 20, verse 12, ears that hear, eyes that see, the Lord has made them both. Hearing and seeing, that is the invitation of this hour. Heaven is opening your spiritual senses. The same events others dismiss as coincidence will speak volumes to you. Many glance at time and see only numbers. You look and see signs. Others see waiting. You see divine weaving. This awakening is not dramatic. It is deliberate. It begins like dawn, soft, steady, unstoppable. You are standing in that moment where heaven adjusts your vision. The pain that once blinded you is now becoming your lens. The wounds that once silenced you are now tuning your ears to the faint frequencies of grace. There is something sacred about the one who learns to listen before moving. In a world addicted to noise, those who can hear heaven's whisper become carriers of peace. They don't need lightning to confirm direction. A whisper is enough. The quieter your soul becomes, the clearer His instructions sound. In this silence, strength is being born. The quiet does not mean you've been forgotten. It means the foundations are being laid where no one else can see. You are being refined in a furnace that doesn't burn, it clarifies. You are learning to move not by sight, but by spirit. And when the time comes to step forward, you will not move from anxiety, but from assurance. The stillness that once felt unbearable will have become your secret weapon, the inner calm that makes you unshakable. Do not despise the hush. It is the sound of heaven writing. Every quiet hour is filling your soul with instruction for the days ahead. Every delay is perfecting your discernment. You are learning that revelation is not found in motion but in stillness, not in shouting but in surrender. So, breathe. Let silence speak. Let patience complete its work. The world may rush past you, but heaven measures time differently. When the next word comes, you will know it not because it's loud, but because peace will follow its sound. You are not behind schedule. You are right on time for awakening. The silence is not a void, it is the womb of revelation. Stay still, the light is forming. Soon, what was hidden in quiet will rise in clarity. The same silence that once tested you will testify for you. You'll realize that waiting was never wasted. It was the rhythm of heaven teaching you how to hear the language of destiny itself. The signal in the silence, it comes softly, yet it shakes the deepest parts of you. You have learned to listen, not with your ears, but with your spirit. In this hour, heaven is speaking in frequencies that only the awake can hear. What you are sensing right now is not confusion, it is alignment. The air around you is carrying messages from eternity, waiting for hearts that are tuned to respond. You begin to notice things. You once ignored: the sudden pause in conversation, the unshakable stirring in your heart when you pray, the gentle nudge that says, wait or move. These are not coincidences. They are signals from heaven, coded in silence, guiding you through the chaos of human noise. God does not always speak in fire. Sometimes he whispers in patterns. There was a chosen one once named Micah. He lived in a time when people worshipped noise crowds, applause, opinions. But Micah sought the whisper. While others ran after fame, he went to the hills to listen. For years, the silence stretched like a desert. Then one evening, as he sat beneath the same olive tree where he had prayed 1,000 unanswered prayers, the wind shifted. It was not loud, but it carried a voice that said, now. That one word changed his entire life. Every delay before that moment made sense. He had not been forgotten, he had been trained to hear. So it is with you. You have been taught to listen in a world that rewards shouting. You have been trained by heaven to notice what others overlook. That sensitivity is not weakness, it is your anointing. The world might call it overthinking, but heaven calls it discernment. You feel more deeply because you were created to carry revelation others cannot bear. The Word of God declares in the book of Job, chapter 33, verses 14 and 15, for God does speak now one way, now another, though no one perceives it, in a dream, in a vision of the night. When deep sleep falls on people, he speaks in their ears. And yes, even in the silence of the night, heaven is not idle. God still speaks through dreams, through sudden burdens on your heart, through the random memory that flashes across your mind at the perfect moment. He is signaling you even when you think you are waiting for him. There is a difference between silence and stillness. Silence feels empty. Stillness feels alive. In silence, you wait for sound. In stillness, you realize you are surrounded by sound you cannot yet interpret. The universe hums with divine order. The stars pulse. Oceans breathe. And even your heartbeat keeps time with heaven's rhythm. Every breath you take at 11:59 p.m. is part of that holy pattern. Sometimes the signal comes as discomfort, a restlessness that won't let you stay where you are. You sense it in your job, in your relationships, in your habits, the feeling that something is shifting. That is heaven pulling you forward. Don't ignore it. The same way the wind bends the trees before a storm, God bends your comfort before your calling. You may think you're hearing nothing, but what if this stillness is the sound of heaven adjusting the frequency of your life? God is bringing your heart into harmony with His timing. Each delay, each closed door, each restless night, they are fine-tunings of your destiny. This is where many lose focus. They mistake quiet seasons for abandonment. But you are different. You have learned to discern the whisper behind the wind. You no longer demand the burning bush. You look for the faint flicker that others overlook. And that is why heaven can trust you with secrets. In the realm of faith, stillness is strategy. Warriors pause before they strike. Prophets listen before they speak. And the wise stay silent before they rise. You are standing in that moment right now, a divine breath between chapters. Heaven is coding instruction into your calm. When you sense the tug of His presence, don't rush to act. Just listen. Let the message sink deeper than words. The signal is not asking for your noise. It is asking for your awareness. Now, pause here. Breathe slowly. Feel the pulse of heaven in your chest. You are hearing what others can't. You are being trained to interpret the language of time. If you can feel that inner shift, type "I'm listening" in the comments. It's more than words, it's a declaration. By writing it, you are choosing awareness over distraction, presence over noise. You are saying, "Lord, I'm tuned to your frequency. Speak, and I will hear." Oh, the signal has been sent. Your response is the beginning of revelation. The war between light and shadow has never been distant. It has always been fought inside you. The closer you move toward your purpose, the more the conflict intensifies. This is not punishment. It is proof that you are crossing into territory the darkness thought it owned. Every whisper of doubt, every sudden wave of exhaustion, every battle in your thoughts is a reaction to your progress. You may not see it, but heaven's armies are moving. Angels are stationed around you, guarding unseen gates while you wrestle through invisible storms. The pressure you feel is not a sign of failure. It is the tension between two worlds, heaven advancing and darkness retreating. Every chosen one must feel that pull before the dawn of breakthrough. There was a young man once, nameless in history, but mighty in purpose. He had been called to carry a message that could change his generation. Yet his heart was heavy with fear. Every time he tried to speak, his voice trembled. He prayed for peace, but God allowed war instead. One night, as he sat by the fire, he saw the shadow of his own hand cast against the ground. It flickered between light and darkness, and in that flicker, he heard the voice of God say, "The war outside is only the reflection of the war within." From that night, he understood. Victory begins in the mind before it appears in the world. So it is with you. The shadows you face are mirrors, revealing where light still needs to grow inside you. Fear shows where faith must stand. Confusion shows where clarity is about to emerge. Every temptation, every battle, every doubt, they are training you to master your own spirit. You cannot lead others into freedom if you have not learned to silence your own storm. There is a mystery in spiritual warfare. The enemy does not fight you because of where you are. He fights you because of what you are about to become. He senses movement in your destiny long before you see it yourself. That's why the pressure often increases. Right before breakthrough, the resistance is evidence that the gate is near. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 27, verse 1. The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life, of whom shall I be afraid? That verse is not just comfort, it is alignment. Light and salvation are not only around you, they are within you. Every time you choose faith over fear, light conquers territory inside your soul. Each word of truth you speak into darkness becomes a sword drawn against the unseen. The war between light and shadow does not end quickly. It is a lifelong dance of decisions. Every thought, every response, every moment of surrender tilts the balance toward heaven or away from it. But remember this, the light inside you is not fragile. It comes from the same source that birthed the stars. Darkness cannot comprehend it, cannot extinguish it, cannot negotiate with it. Some days the battle feels quieter. Those are the days when you are being strengthened in silence. Other days, it feels relentless, like every force is pressing against your chest. Yet even then, light remains undefeated. The shadow has no substance. It only exists where light is partially blocked. So when fear rises, do not fight the shadow. Remove what stands between you and the light. Heaven is training your hands for war, not the war of weapons, but the war of endurance. You are learning to guard your peace like a fortress, wield truth like a blade. Stand still when everything inside you wants to run. Each battle you face is adding layers to your armor. The enemy thrives on distraction, because distraction weakens focus. And where focus weakens, purpose leaks. Guard your attention like treasure. The most dangerous attack is not the obvious one, it is the subtle voice that says, settle, slow down, quit. But you have survived too much to stop here. You were chosen not because you are fearless, but because you are faithful. Courage is not the absence of trembling, it is choosing to move while trembling. The angels are not impressed by perfection, they move at the sound of obedience. Look around, the night might seem darker, but that's because dawn is pushing against the horizon. The battle rages most violently before light breaks through. Every prayer you whisper is pushing back the storm. Every act of kindness, every word of truth, every moment you refuse to quit, that is warfare. The war between light and shadow is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to reveal what side you were created to carry. And as long as you keep standing, the light keeps winning. The scroll with your name has always existed. Before you spoke your first word, before you faced your first battle, heaven had already written your purpose in golden ink. It is not a story of perfection, but of persistence, how light keeps finding you in every dark valley. Somewhere in heaven's archives, there is a scroll that carries the pattern of your destiny, the record of every time you rose again when you could have quit. Every chosen one has such a scroll. It isn't made of paper or parchment, It is written on the soul. Each line glows faintly when you obey. Each word brightens when you choose faith over fear. You may not see it, but your life is unfolding like a sacred manuscript in the hands of the author who never forgets his own. But that scroll does not read itself. It opens one obedient act at a time. The moment you said yes when you didn't understand. The day you forgave what broke you. The time you gave even when you had little. All of these became divine ink, shaping what heaven already planned. There was once a woman who lived on the edge of a small town. No one remembered her name, but heaven knew her story. Each morning, she would pick wildflowers and lay them by a cracked window, whispering, "This is all I have, but I give it." Her life seemed small to others, yet her simple acts of giving became fragrance that reached the throne of God. Years later, the same kindness she sowed became her salvation. The seeds she scattered in silence became the flowers that led her home. Chosen one. The same is true for you. The act of giving, whether it's time, attention, love, or support, is never about transaction. It's about transformation. You give because it shapes your soul into something heaven recognizes. Every generous act becomes a bridge between what you have and what God wants to release. We find in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 9, verse 7, each one should give what he has decided in his heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion. For God loves a cheerful giver. This is not a command to give, it's an invitation to participate in what God is doing. When you support what feeds your spirit, you are watering the field that grows your future. Like a candle lighting another, your light does not diminish, it multiplies. If this message has touched your heart, gently press the light, like this message, share it, and subscribe so that it may reach the next soul who is standing in their own 11:59 moment. Each click is not noise, it's a ripple of light across someone's darkness. And if your heart ever feels led to go further, to donate or sow a seed into this flow of words, know that it is never demanded. Think of it like placing a single drop of oil into a lamp that keeps burning through the night. One drop seems small, but together they become a flame that never goes out. Every contribution, whether a prayer, a share, or an offering, becomes part of that eternal glow. No one is counting. There are no conditions. This is between you and the one who sees in secret. Give only if peace leads you, for when giving flows from love, it becomes worship. Sometimes generosity isn't about money at all. It's about trust. It's believing that when you release what's in your hand, God releases what's in His. The smallest act can become a miracle when done in faith. Your share is a whisper to the algorithm of heaven. Your like is a spark in the dark. Your donation, if ever offered, is a quiet river that keeps this message flowing to hearts you may never meet. Picture this, you standing at the edge of the sea at dawn, holding a single shell. You throw it into the waves, thinking it disappears. But what you don't see is how the tide carries it, how it becomes part of a current that circles the world. That is what happens when you give freely. It doesn't vanish, it moves. It multiplies. It returns. Your heart already knows what to do. If the Spirit nudges you to give, let it be joy, not duty. If He whispers that your support could carry this light further, follow that whisper. No pressure, only purpose. no demand, only destiny. And as you do, remember, your scroll is still being written. Every kind gesture, every moment you pour into others, becomes another line in the story of a life that heaven proudly calls chosen. The scroll turns another page tonight. The ink glows brighter. The author smiles. And the story continues. The test of obedience always arrives quietly. It doesn't come wrapped in lightning or thunder. It often comes disguised as a simple decision when no one is watching. The voice of God rarely shouts. It whispers in crossroads. You know this moment. The air feels still, but your spirit trembles. Something inside you knows the next step matters more than you can see. You've been here before the edge, between comfort and calling. One side offers safety, the other side holds destiny. The test of obedience is never about what you can do. It's about whether you will trust when the outcome is hidden. There was a man once named Aram, a craftsman known for shaping wood into instruments that sang like wind. One day, he felt the nudge to leave his workshop and go to a nearby village to repair the instruments of a forgotten temple. The thought made no sense. There was no payment, no recognition, only dust and silence. Yet the whisper persisted. After nights of wrestling, he obeyed. When he arrived, he found a child waiting, a child whose song would one day heal a nation. Aram never saw the fruit of his obedience, but heaven wrote it in his scroll as a symphony. You may not realize it now, but every yes you whisper into the dark echoes louder than any sermon. God measures trust not by words, but by quiet action. It's easy to declare faith when the path is clear. It's divine when the path is fog. As was spoken in the sacred texts of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 2, all these blessings will come upon you and overtake you if you obey the voice of the Lord your God. Notice the word overtake. Blessings will chase you. You won't need to chase them. Obedience is not a cage. It's a compass, pointing you toward the place where provision already exists. Sometimes obedience feels like loss. You give up something precious, not knowing that God is preparing to multiply it later. Other times it feels like silence, no confirmation, no applause. But heaven is not ignoring you. It's recording you. Every time you choose faith over fear, the ink on your scroll glows brighter. The test may come through a delay, a closed door, or a sudden change you didn't plan for. It might be the decision to forgive again, to release what's heavy, to start over one more time. These are not punishments. They are opportunities to prove that your love for God is not conditional. There is beauty in unseen obedience. The world measures success by what's visible, but heaven measures what's done in secret. The quiet yes of the heart becomes thunder in eternity. Think of a seed buried in the soil. It's dark, cold, and silent. No one claps for it. Yet it pushes upward because obedience is written in its design. It doesn't know how long the darkness will last. It simply trusts that light will come. You, too, were made to rise in faith. Obedience is not perfection, it's alignment. You may stumble, doubt, question, and still be found faithful if you keep returning to that inner voice. Even the smallest step in the right direction moves heaven closer. Sometimes obedience is as simple as staying still when everything in you wants to rush ahead. God often tests not your ability to act, but your ability to wait. The still heart is the strongest fortress. Now, take a moment. You've come this far through storms and silence. through questions and awakenings. This moment, this test is not to break you, but to reveal you. Heaven already knows your heart. This test is so that you may know it too. If these words stir something deep in you, write the number 444 inches, the comments. It's not superstition, it's a symbol of alignment. 4 corners of the earth, 4 winds, 4 foundations of truth. By writing it, you declare, I choose obedience over understanding. It is your silent yes, echoed in visible form. The test may continue for a while, but remember, God never wastes obedience. Even when you can't see the reward, heaven is moving. And when the time is right, the same voice that tested you will call your name again, but this time it will say, well done. Those words won't just affirm your success, they'll reveal your transformation. They'll prove that your surrender was not weakness, but wisdom, that obedience was never about rules, but about relationship. Voices of doubt, they are the oldest weapons in the war for your destiny. They come softly, sounding like logic, like reason, even like your own thoughts. But behind their calm tone lies a single purpose: to pull you away from what God already confirmed about you. Doubt doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. It asks questions that sound innocent but carry poison underneath. You've heard them before. What if you're not enough? What if you heard wrong? What if this isn't real? These questions slither into your quiet hours, curling around your confidence, draining strength before you even act. Yet doubt can only grow where truth is unguarded. Every chosen one faces this battle. Even the strongest hearts have moments when their faith shakes. There was a man once, a traveler named Simeon, who built his life on promise. God had told him he would not die before he saw deliverance. Years passed. His beard turned silver. His hands began to tremble. And still, nothing. The world mocked his hope, and the voices grew louder. You misheard. You imagined it. Let it go. But on Edam, guided by a quiet tug, Simeon walked into the temple, and there, in his old arms, he held the fulfillment of the prophecy. The voices fell silent. Your own journey mirrors his. Doubt always grows loudest right before proof arrives. That is its pattern. It fights hardest before it loses power. Every time you choose to stand on what you know rather than what you feel, you silence 1,000 lies at once. According to what is revealed in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 6, but when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. Waves are beautiful but unstable. They rise high, then collapse, never holding their form for long. Doubt makes you like that, always moving, never settling. Faith, however, anchors you. It doesn't remove the wind. It roots you so deeply that no storm can uproot you. There is an armor for this battle. It is invisible but powerful, the armor of faith. It doesn't mean you will never feel fear again. It means that when fear arrives, it finds no empty space to liven. The shield of faith is forged through memory, remembering every time you thought you wouldn't make it. Yet you did. Every time you thought the night would swallow you. Yet morning came. You might still hear the voices. They don't disappear overnight, but they lose authority when you stop feeding them with attention. The enemy cannot create. only imitate. He copies the tone of truth to sound believable. That's why discernment matters. When the voice says you are unworthy, remember, conviction leads to correction, but condemnation leads to paralysis. Learn the difference. Faith is not pretending everything is fine. It's knowing that even in confusion, God remains constant. Like a lighthouse standing firm as waves crash against it, faith doesn't silence the storm. It simply refuses to move. Some doubts are internal. Others come from people around you. Friends who mean well. Mentors who fear your boldness. Systems that discourage your faith because it disrupts their comfort. They may say, "Be realistic," or "Tone it down," not realizing they are echoing the same voice that tried to stop Abraham, Moses, and every soul who ever carried fire inside them. Don't resent them, recognize them. Doubt often dresses itself in familiarity. The armor of faith grows heavier the longer you wear it. But so does your endurance. You are learning to walk with confidence even when answers delay. You are learning to say, "I don't understand, but I still trust." That phrase is a weapon. It breaks chains the enemy cannot rebuild. Imagine walking through fog, unable to see beyond a few steps. You keep moving, not because you see the path, but because you trust the one who built it. That is faith. That is victory over doubt. There will be nights when your heart trembles, when your prayers feel unanswered, when you start to wonder if the promise was just your imagination. But remember, Simeon's years of silence didn't mean absence. The whisper you obeyed was not a mistake. It was a seed planted in divine soil. You are not losing faith, you are growing it. Doubt is not proof of failure. It's evidence that you are wrestling with the unseen. And in every wrestling, there is revelation. Soon, the voices will quiet. The storm will pass. What remains will be the sound of your steady breathing, the rhythm of a heart that refused to give up. And that sound, chosen one, is stronger than any argument. It's the sound of a soul that has learned to trust without seeing, to stand without proof, to believe without applause. When heaven waits for your yes, time itself seems to hold its breath. You can almost feel it, everything around you pausing, as though creation itself leans in to hear your response. The angels know what's at stake. The wind feels different, as if it's listening too. Heaven's mercy stands still in that space between decision and surrender. There are moments in life when God does not move until you do. He has already prepared the blessing, the path, the opportunity, but He will not force your step. Your yes becomes the key that turns the invisible lock. Sometimes the delay you feel is not punishment, it's heaven's patience, waiting for alignment. The truth is, surrender has never been easy. To say yes when the future is unclear takes courage greater than logic. But every chosen one must face this holy hesitation, the moment when obedience feels heavier than comfort, when trust feels more dangerous than control. There was a woman named Mara, known for her quiet strength. She worked the fields of others, carrying burdens that weren't hers, whispering prayers that often felt unanswered. One evening, while kneeling in the dirt, she felt a whisper, "Leave this place." She looked around at the land she had tended for years, the soil that carried both her sweat and her memories, and fear gripped her. What if she left and found nothing? What if she misunderstood? Still, something in her spirit stirred. She stood up, brushed off the dust, and walk toward an unseen tomorrow. Months later, she would look back from a new land, overflowing with harvest, realizing heaven had only waited for her. Yes, that's what surrender does. It activates what was waiting. Heaven does not rush you, but it does wait on you. Every divine promise is a two-part melody, God's offering and your agreement. Until both sound together, the song remains unfinished. As the prophet Elijah spoke, as recorded in the first book of Kings, chapter 18, verse 21, "How long will you waver between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him." End of. It's a sharp question, but it carries deep mercy. God doesn't ask because he needs your obedience to exist. He asks because your obedience unlocks your own freedom. Hesitation may feel safe, but it's a silent cage. You can spend years trapped between almost and not yet, between knowing and doing. When heaven waits, it is not idleness, it is invitation. God could move without your cooperation, yet he chooses partnership because love always seeks agreement, not control. That is the beauty of divine relationship. You are not a pawn in his plan. You are a participant in his unfolding glory. Your yes doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't even have to be confident. Sometimes the trembling yes, the whispered one through tears, carries more weight than all the shouts of certainty. Heaven understands the language of surrender, even when words fail. Think about this. Seeds only grow once they break open. That breaking is painful, but it's the only way life emerges. Surrender works the same way. When you release control, something divine bursts from within, a strength you didn't know you carried. Often, we pray for signs, confirmations, or reassurances. But the truth is that obedience itself becomes the sign. You move, and then the path lights up beneath your feet. You say yes, and then heaven reveals what was hidden. Faith never demands the full map. It takes the first step and lets God draw the rest. Sometimes, your yes benefits people you may never meet. Mara's obedience didn't just bless her, it blessed generations after her. When you respond to God, you shift more than your life. You shift entire bloodlines. Heaven's waiting isn't just about you, it's about everyone connected to your destiny. The hardest part of saying yes is letting go of what's familiar, but the familiar is not always faithful. It can be the greatest enemy of growth. God will sometimes shake what you've built to show you it was too small for what he intends next. There will come a moment when heaven stops waiting, not in anger, but because the season of mercy gives way to movement. When that moment comes, those who delayed will watch what they could have joined. But you will not miss it. You have already felt the pull, the ache, the calling. So listen. That still, small voice that keeps returning, that is not your imagination. That is heaven reminding you that destiny is a partnership. The next chapter begins not when God speaks again, but when you finally answer. Heaven is still waiting, but not forever. The hour is late, the oil is ready, and the invitation stands open. When you whisper your yes, even trembling, all of creation will exhale, and the story will move forward again. The prophetic number countdown has begun. You can feel it not as fear, but as rhythm. Heaven speaks in time, and time speaks in numbers. The patterns you keep noticing, the repetitions that seem to follow you, they are not coincidences. They are confirmations. Every number carries a message. Every sequence, a whisper from the divine. Numbers are the alphabet of eternity. When the Creator shaped the cosmos, He numbered the stars, measured the waters, and counted the days before forming you. Each tick of the clock, each pulse of your heart, carries meaning. At 11:59, heaven is counting not seconds, but souls waking up to their purpose. There was once a man named Darius. He worked as a watchmaker, building timepieces that no longer sold. Business was failing. Bills piled high. And still, every day, he crafted another watch, engraving one phrase inside each one. For the appointed hour, one evening, as he sat in his dim workshop, he heard the whisper of a clock he hadn't wound in years. Its hands moved to 11:59 and stopped. The next morning, a stranger arrived, an investor who would revive his dream. Darius realized that heaven had been measuring his faith, not his minutes. You, too, are being measured not by how fast you move, but by how deeply you trust. The countdown isn't meant to frighten you, it's meant to awaken you. When heaven numbers a moment, it becomes sacred. And this moment right now is marked. Scripture says in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under the heaven." Every purpose has its hour. You can't rush it, and you can't delay it forever. God's timing is perfect because it teaches patience before fulfillment. Many lose faith, not because the promise died, but because they stopped counting. The prophetic countdown isn't about numbers on a screen, it's about alignment in your spirit. When you see 3:33, 5:55, or 10:10, it's not magic, it's memory. Heaven reminding you that time is not slipping away, it's converging toward destiny. There's a reason the Bible is filled with numbers. 7 for completion, 12 for authority, 40 for testing, each one a rhythm in the heartbeat of heaven. Your life beats to that same rhythm. When you feel delayed, it's not because God forgot, it's because He's still synchronizing events around you. The blessing isn't ready until the background is built. Like a conductor waiting for every musician to tune, heaven ensures that when your song begins, nothing will be out of harmony. You may not see the movement, but the gears are turning. Angels are aligning paths, opportunities, and encounters that will unfold exactly on time. Divine precision does not waste even a second. When God says, "Now," everything changes. Doors that resisted will swing open. Hearts that ignored will listen. And everything that was withheld will suddenly be released. But until that word comes, you are called to stay alert, to keep counting, not with fear, but with faith. Every prayer you pray adds to the countdown. Every act of kindness, every choice to believe again, ticks another second closer to fulfillment. You are not waiting idly, you are participating in prophecy. There is beauty in the countdown because it means heaven trusts you with anticipation. You were not made for despair. You were made to watch the horizon until it burns with light. And when you see numbers that stir your spirit, pause. Don't rush past them. Whisper gratitude, not curiosity. Those moments are heaven's way of saying, "I'm still here. I'm still counting with you." End well. Now take a breath and listen. There's a hush before revelation. A quiet second before the clock moves again. The numbers are aligning with your obedience, and soon they will sing your breakthrough. If you feel that alignment, type "time aligns" in the comments. It's not just a phrase, it's a declaration that your spirit agrees with heaven's rhythm. You are not behind. You are right on time. The numbers keep counting down, but not toward an end, toward awakening. The appointed hour draws near, and you are already standing in it. This countdown is not meant to terrify you, it is meant to prepare you. Heaven never reveals time to cause panic, but to awaken purpose. Each sign you see, each divine pattern, is a gentle reminder that you are part of something precise, intentional, and eternal. You are not losing time, you are stepping into alignment with it. So do not rush or fear the ticking. The divine clock doesn't count down to destruction, it counts down to revelation. Every second brings you closer to clarity, restoration, and the fulfillment written long ago on your heavenly scroll. When the last second strikes, it will not be an ending, it will be the unveiling of everything you were created for. The separation of the marked ones has begun. Midnight does not divide by noise, but by light. As the clock moves into the hidden seconds, something shifts in the unseen world. The air feels charged. The line between the called and the chosen glows faintly, like dawn breaking through mist. You sense it deep in your spirit, that moment when heaven quietly begins to reveal who truly carries the flame. This is not about superiority. It is about surrender. The marked ones are not better. They are simply those who refused to let go when the night grew long. While others grew tired of waiting, they kept the lamp burning. That lamp, your faith, your endurance, your love, has now drawn heaven's attention. There was once a potter who made hundreds of clay jars. Some cracked in the fire, others held their form. The potter did not curse the broken ones, but he knew which vessels could carry light without shattering. So when the night came, he placed a candle only in those that had endured the furnace. From afar, it looked like only a few glowed, but in truth, all had been given the same chance. The light simply revealed who was ready. You, chosen one, have been through that fire. The loneliness, the loss, the misunderstanding. It wasn't punishment, it was preparation. The cracks in your story became the places where light could escape. Now, at midnight, heaven separates not by appearance but by endurance. Those who stayed faithful when no one saw are being lifted into purpose. The Apostle Paul wrote in his second letter to Timothy, chapter 2, verse 21, "If anyone cleanses himself from what is dishonorable, he will be a vessel, set apart and useful, prepared for good works." Set apart. That's what it means to be marked. It's not always glamorous. Sometimes it means walking roads no one else wants, carrying dreams others can't understand, or waiting longer than seems fair. But separation is not rejection. It's refinement. When gold is purified, the fire doesn't destroy it, it defines it. Now, as you listen, you can feel that same fire glowing inside. The warmth isn't just memory, it's recognition. You are realizing who you are. The world tried to label you, to pull you back into noise, but your spirit no longer fits into those cages. You've outgrown them. And as this realization comes, a gentle invitation rises too, a call not from pressure but from gratitude. If this message has lit something inside you, gently, like this flame, share it so it travels farther than your reach. And subscribe so the embers never fade. Each action is a spark tossed into the dark, a signal fire to those still searching for home. And if your heart ever feels stirred to do more, to donate or sow into the flow that keeps this voice alive, know that it is not demanded, but invited. Think of it as placing one more glowing coal onto a great hearth where countless souls gather for warmth. Each gift, small or large, keeps the flame breathing. There are no eyes counting, no hands reaching, no demands written in fine print. This is between you and the one who sees in secret. Give only if peace rises when you think of it. Your act becomes a small constellation, lighting the path of someone who still walks in fog. Sometimes generosity isn't about money, it's about resonance. It's whispering, "I believe this light should keep burning." Every person who joins keeps the night at bay. Your like is a spark. Your share is a lantern hung higher. Your donation, if you choose it, is the oil that keeps the fire alive long after the storyteller rests. Together, they form a river of flame stretching through time, gentle yet unstoppable. The separation of the marked ones is not loud, it is luminous. Those who kept the fire will carry it into dawn, and when morning breaks, the world will see not the ones who shouted the loudest, but the ones who kept the light alive. The separation of the marked ones is not loud, it is luminous. Those who kept the fire will carry it into dawn, and when morning breaks, the world will see not the ones who shouted the loudest, but the ones who kept the light alive. And perhaps that is the real miracle, not the rising sun, but the ones who never stopped believing it would rise. Every quiet act of faith, every gentle yes, every spark shared in the dark becomes a bridge between night and morning. The world may not remember your name, but heaven will remember your flame. So, hold the light a little higher. Someone unseen is finding their way by its glow. You are part of something larger than this moment, an endless chain of sparks linking heart to heart, soul to soul, until the entire horizon burns with hope again. The moment the door closes always feels sharper than you expect. There is no echo, no loud announcement, just a quiet certainty that something has shifted. You stand before it, wondering if you missed a cue, if perhaps another chance might still open. But deep down you know, this is the moment when heaven moves from invitation to separation. Mercy has not ended, but its window has changed. Doors are holy things. They do not exist to trap or to tease. They exist to mark transitions. When God closes a door, it is not to punish, but to protect. You may see denial, but heaven see diversion. There are paths that look promising, but would empty you before you ever reached your promise. And so, in love, the divine hand turns the handle and seals what you cannot yet understand. There was a man once who prayed for years to enter the king's court. He believed that standing near power would give his words authority, yet every time he tried, the gates shut in his face. Humiliation followed him, and he almost abandoned his calling. But one night, he dreamed of a vast hallway filled with doors. As he walked, some opened easily, while others stayed locked, no matter how hard he pushed. A voice spoke. "The door you call rejection is the one I sealed to protect your anointing." When he awoke, peace replaced his bitterness. Years later, his words would reach kings, not because he served them, but because he spoke for one greater. You, too, may be standing before a closed door right now. You've prayed, pleaded, waited, knocked, and still it remains unmoved. But what if that door is not your punishment, but your preservation? God never shuts something without first preparing somewhere else. Closed doors are not endings, they are redirections. According to the writings of the Apostle John, in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 7, what he opens no one can shut, and what he shuts no one can open. No, this is more than a promise, it's a map of trust. If a door closes, it means the hand that holds your future is still guiding the hinges. You don't have to understand the architecture of heaven to trust its builder. Still, it hurts. There is a kind of ache that comes from goodbyes you never planned. You may feel as though you're left outside, peering into what could have been. But remember this, even Jesus faced closed doors. There were towns he could not enter because hearts refused to believe. Yet he kept walking. Closed places didn't define his purpose, they redirected it. Sometimes God closes doors to force us through gates we would have ignored. The gate is narrower, quieter, and less glamorous, but it leads to wide spaces of peace. The door to applause may shut so you can walk through the gate of authenticity. The door to comfort may close so that you step through the gate of calling. You are not locked out, you are being led differently. What seems like stillness is often strategy. Heaven knows how to pace your path. If every opportunity remained open, distraction would dilute your direction. So God narrows your focus, closing the unnecessary so that what truly matters can breathe. In time, you will thank Him for every sealed season. You'll look back and see that every no was a hidden yes to something greater. You'll realize that the door you begged to reopen would have drained the very strength you now use to stand tall. Sometimes, though, the hardest doors to accept are not external, but internal, the ones inside your own heart. The doors you shut to protect yourself from pain. The ones you built after betrayal, God gently knocks there too. Not to condemn, but to heal. He asks for access to the rooms you've kept dark, because even those spaces belong to His light. The moment a divine door closes marks the end of striving and the beginning of surrender. There's peace in that realization, a quiet awareness that you are no longer chasing what isn't meant for you. You are learning to trust timing over control, grace over grasping. So stand before the closed door, not in defeat, but in reverence. Whisper gratitude, even through confusion, for one day, when you walk through the next open door, you'll understand why this one had to stay shut. And in that understanding, you'll see that heaven never takes without preparing to give something infinitely better. Grace always lingers longer than judgment. It is the quiet breath before the cutoff, the last light flickering through the doorway before it closes. Even when time seems spent, grace stretches its hands toward you once more. It doesn't shout, it waits. Like sunlight spilling through a narrow crack, it reaches even the corners you thought too dark to redeem. This is the hour of last chances, not because God delights in deadlines, but because love respects choice. Grace never forces, it invites. It stands at the edge of time, whispering, "You still can." And in that whisper lies the entire mystery of redemption, that mercy is both infinite and urgent. You may think it's too late. Maybe you've drifted too far. said too much, grown too numb. Yet, even now, heaven has not turned its face away. Grace does not calculate distance. It measures desire. The smallest movement toward light is enough to call the angels to attention. There was once a man named Eliab. He had walked far from faith, chasing every pleasure the world could offer. His name, once spoken in prayer, became a rumor of disappointment. Yet one night, as he sat beneath a dying lamp, he heard a voice. The flame still waits. With trembling hands, he lifted the lamp and saw a single spark glowing faintly at the wick. He wept, realizing grace had been waiting in the ashes all along. He didn't relight the flame. It had never gone out. So it is with you. Grace is not something you earn. It's something you awaken to. It has been standing beside you, even in your rebellion, even in your weariness. It has followed you into the caves of silence, into the noise of doubt, into the rooms you hoped no one would enter, and still, it whispers your name. We are reminded through the writings of Paul in the book of Romans, chapter 5, verse 20, where sin increased, grace increased all the more. Those words are not permission, they are promise. They mean that no fall disqualifies you from rising again. Grace doesn't excuse sin. It transforms hearts until sin loses its hold. It's the river that keeps flowing, even when you've built a dam of guilt around yourself. And when you finally let that river in, everything barren begins to bloom again. You may not realize it, but this season is mercy extended. Heaven often delays the clock, not to test your endurance, but to offer restoration. The longer you've wandered, the deeper the embrace when you return. Grace doesn't mock your slowness. It marvels that you're still listening. Sometimes grace feels like loss because it removes what you built on sand. It breaks attachments, ends cycles, closes doors that were draining your strength. You might weep as they fall, but one day you'll see they were not collapses, they were clearings. Grace was making room for something stronger. In this last breath before midnight, you are being offered a gift that cannot be purchased, another chance to realign. Heaven is not asking for perfection, only permission. Let grace enter. Let it rewrite the sentence you thought was final. When you feel unworthy, remember this: the cross did not shine for the worthy. It shone for the weary, the ashamed, the ones who almost gave up. Grace has never looked away from brokenness. It leans toward it. Maybe tonight, this message is that soft knock on the door of your heart, the one you almost ignore. Maybe this is the pause before you say yes to being restored. Don't rush past it. Sit in it. Let it sink into the deepest parts of you, because at 11:59, heaven doesn't withdraw love. It waits for recognition. And when you finally lift your eyes, you'll realize the light you thought was fading has been following you all along. If something inside you stirs at these words, write the number 555 inches, the comments. It's not a ritual, it's remembrance. 3 5s. Echoing grace upon grace upon grace. Each one a whisper that you're still within reach. Still chosen. Still loved beyond measure. By writing it, you're not performing. You're acknowledging that mercy has found you again. This is the last breath of borrowed time, yet also the first inhale of renewal. The cutoff hasn't come, it's paused, waiting for your return. Grace is still stretching out its hand, and if you take it, everything can begin again. This moment is not about fear, it's about invitation. Grace does not chase you to shame you. It reaches to restore you. The hand extended toward you is not demanding, it's welcoming. It offers peace for chaos, beauty for ashes, and a beginning born from mercy's final minute. The crown of those who endure is not made of gold, it is forged from persistence. It is shaped in silence, polished by pain, and worn not on the head first, but in the heart. Those who have endured know that glory never arrives cheaply. It is born in the nights where tears outnumber words, where you stand before heaven with nothing left but your will to keep believing. Endurance is the quiet twin of faith. Faith begins with vision, but endurance carries it through the storms. Many begin the race with passion, but only those who endure cross the invisible finish line that heaven counts. You've seen this truth in your own story, how promises often come wrapped in problems, how calling always comes with conflict. There was a woman named Tirzah who worked as a caretaker for others her whole life. Every day, she prayed for change. Yet her circumstances barely shifted. Neighbors whispered that her faith was wasted. But she kept praying, kept serving, kept trusting. When she grew old, people finally realized her life itself had become the miracle. The children she raised, the hearts she comforted, the faith she modeled, these were her crowns. Invisible, yet eternal. Heaven had been watching all along. So it is with you. The world may overlook your quiet endurance, but heaven never does. Each time you rise after falling, each time you forgive when you could have turned bitter, you place another gem in your unseen crown. Endurance is not dramatic, it is steady, stubborn, sacred. According to the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." And that verse does not describe a reward for perfection, but for persistence. It means heaven values the ones who refuse to let pain decide their identity. You may feel weary, but your endurance is building something immortal. To endure is to keep walking, even when every step feels heavier than the last. It is to keep loving, even when love is not returned. To keep praying, even when heaven seems quiet. It's not weakness to cry. Tears are proof that you're still fighting. Even Jesus wept before victory. Endurance doesn't erase suffering, it transforms it. It turns pain into wisdom, fear into depth, loss into empathy. Every scar becomes a doorway for light to enter. When people see the calm in your eyes, they will not realize it was carved by storms. Sometimes, endurance means letting go. The hardest battles are not always with external enemies, but with your own expectations. You imagined how the story should go, but God wrote it differently. Trust that the author knows the ending better than you know the chapter you're in. There will come a day when you look back and see how the waiting was working for you. The nights of uncertainty were strengthening your roots. The unanswered prayers were shaping your perspective. The disappointments that broke your heart were actually redirecting it. Every delay was adding endurance to your spirit until you could hold the blessing without it breaking you. Endurance is also a teacher. It teaches humility, the kind that recognizes strength as a gift, not an achievement. It teaches compassion, because once you've survived your own wilderness, you cannot ignore someone else's. And it teaches patience, the rarest virtue in a world addicted to immediacy. You are not merely surviving, you are becoming. The pressure that feels unbearable is forming your spiritual backbone, like a diamond emerging from coal. Your endurance is revealing what was hidden beneath the surface all along. When you reach heaven's finish line, it will not look like a podium or a ceremony. It will feel like peace. The crown will not weigh you down. It will fit like something you've always worn. You will realize that endurance was not about proving your strength, but about discovering His. The crown of endurance is invisible now, but its glow already surrounds you. Every breath you take after a storm is a shimmer of it. Every "I still believe" whispered through pain is a jewel added to it. One day, heaven will place it fully upon your head, not because you never fell, but because you never stopped getting up. And in that moment, you will finally understand. Endurance was not punishment, it was preparation. You were being trained to carry glory without pride, to hold blessing without breaking, to love deeply without fear of loss. That is the crown, the quiet victory of the soul that refused to surrender. When the new light breaks, it does not ask permission, it simply arrives. After the long darkness, after the ache of waiting and the silence of unanswered prayers, it comes quietly, but completely. The first rays do not shout, they stretch across the horizon, brushing gently against everything that survived the night. And for the first time, in a long time, you can see clearly what was hidden by shadow. This is the nature of divine dawn. It doesn't erase the night, it redeems it. Every struggle becomes a silhouette that now makes sense in the light. The tears you thought were wasted glisten like dew. The valleys that once felt endless are now wrapped in morning gold. The scars you carry no longer feel like wounds. They've become windows where light enters. When the new light breaks, it doesn't just change the world around you, it changes the way you see the world. What once looked like delay now looks like design. What once felt like loss now feels like preparation. The same path that once wounded your feet now glows beneath them. You realize that every painful step was leading you here, to this sacred hour of unveiling. There was a young shepherd named Elior who spent years tending flocks on barren hills. He prayed for a sign, a shift, a glimpse of glory, but for seasons. All he saw were storms. Then, one morning, the first light struck his valley differently. It painted the rocks with color he'd never noticed before. He fell to his knees, realizing that nothing had changed in the landscape, only his eyes had awakened. That is what light does. It does not create new beauty. It reveals the beauty that was waiting to be seen. You are standing in that kind of morning now. The new light is not distant, it's dawning within you. Heaven has not only changed your circumstance, it has changed your sight. The old fear that once controlled your steps no longer feels as strong in this glow. The voices that once haunted you grow faint because truth speaks louder in clarity. As it is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." Oh, those words are not a command, they are a revelation. You are not being told to create the light. You are being reminded that it's already here. The time for hiding is over. The season of silence has ended. The same God who watched you wrestle in darkness now clothes you in radiance. The new light also exposes what cannot remain. Not everything that walked with you through the night will follow you into the morning. Some things fade naturally when light reveals their true nature. Old fears, expired attachments, and worn-out dreams begin to dissolve in the brightness of truth. It's not loss, it's liberation. The light does not take, it clarifies. There is humility in sunrise. It doesn't rush. It grows slowly, teaching you that transformation isn't sudden, it's steady. You don't wake up as someone else. You awaken into the truest version of yourself, the one heaven always saw, even when you couldn't. The beauty of this moment is that you don't have to force it. You simply need to face it. Lift your eyes. Let the warmth reach you. The same God who guarded you through the night is now unveiling the reward of endurance. This new light is not just illumination, it's invitation. It calls you to live differently, to walk as someone who knows dawn personally, to bring warmth where others still feel cold, to speak hope where others only see endings. The light that touched you was never meant to stop with you. It's meant to reflect, to ripple, to remind the world that night is never final. You carry evidence that morning always comes. Your story becomes sunrise for someone else. In time, you'll realize that the greatest miracle of dawn is not that the darkness ended, but that you endured long enough to see it. The night could not break you because you were built for morning. You were designed to outlast what others thought would destroy you. And now, as the new light spreads, you understand. You didn't just survive, you were transformed. You are no longer defined by the shadows that once frightened you. You are the proof that light wins. Every single time. The new light does not only reveal, it commissions. It places a quiet responsibility on your shoulders to carry its warmth into places still dim, to speak with gentleness where bitterness lives, and to remind others that dawn is not distant, it's already rising within them. The command to arise and shine is not about motion, it's about revelation. You do not rise because the world notices you, you rise because heaven does. Something inside you begins to hum with light, and that vibration calls you upward. It is not pride. It is purpose awakening. The same power that pulled Jesus from the tomb now stirs your soul, whispering, "Get up. The morning needs your light." Oh, the time for hiding has passed. You were not made to dim yourself to make others comfortable. The night has already ended. It only pretends to linger when you stay silent. There is a world waiting for your sound, for your voice, for your flame. To arise is not to announce yourself, it is to align with what heaven already declared about you. There was once a girl named Sarah who grew up in a small village surrounded by endless fields. Every evening, she climbed the same hill to watch the stars. She dreamed of doing something meaningful, but fear kept her silent. One night, she prayed, "Lord, use me somehow." The next morning, she began writing letters of encouragement to strangers, slipping them under doors and into books at the local library. Years later, when people in her village began to change, they discovered those letters had come from her. Her quiet rising had ignited a movement of kindness. You, too, have a hill to climb and a light to share. The rising doesn't always look grand. It often begins with one small, consistent act of faith. Every smile you give, every word of truth you speak, every kindness you release becomes a beam in the mosaic of God's sunrise through humanity. As it is written in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden." This isn't merely poetry, it's prophecy. You are that city, that beacon, that quiet flame. You are the proof that darkness never wins. The more you shine, the more others remember their own light. If this message awakens something in you, leave a few words below, perhaps just, "I rise now." It's not for display, it's your whisper to heaven saying, "I'm awake, and I'm ready." Your comment becomes like a spark tossed into the dark, joining others who have also chosen to shine. When you like this message, imagine lighting a lantern in a vast field of souls. When you share, it's like opening a window in a silent house, letting someone else see the morning they thought would never come. And when you subscribe, it's like staying beside a fire. You keep your heart near warmth that keeps renewing others. And if ever your heart nudges you to donate, let it be from joy, not pressure. Picture it as placing a single drop of oil into the communal lamp that burns through the night for those still wandering. One drop alone flickers, but when many pour together, the light never goes out. There is no demand, no tally, no expectation, only invitation. Every act, from a quiet comment to a prayer whispered in silence, becomes part of a living flame that moves beyond distance. Each engagement here is sacred because it flows from choice, not compulsion. Your like is a spark. Your share is a bridge of light. Your comment is a prayer written in the digital winds. Your donation, if you ever feel led, is a breath that keeps the fire alive for another soul. When you arise, you remind the world that faith still works, that love still heals, and that light still travels. You become the echo of heaven's heartbeat on earth. That's what these simple gestures truly are, not actions of obligation, but expressions of light. The dawn does not need applause, it needs witnesses, and you, chosen one, are one of them. You rise not to impress, but to illuminate. For every motion of faith, whether through word, gift, or glow, becomes part of heaven's sunrise stretching across the earth. The dawn, after all, does not rush, it unfolds. It teaches you that transformation is not a single act, but a rhythm. You rise again and again, with every choice to forgive, to hope, to speak life, when silence would be easier. Each new morning becomes a rehearsal for eternity, a gentle reminder that you are still growing brighter. And perhaps this is the secret: heaven hides in plain sight. That light shared is light multiplied. Every spark you release becomes part of something cosmic, a constellation of courage forming across the hearts of the faithful. You are not just watching sunrise, you are helping build it. So lift your face toward the new horizon. Feel the warmth you helped create. Somewhere, someone unknown to you is standing a little taller, breathing a little deeper, because your light reached them. This is the beauty of the dawn. It belongs to all who dare to rise. There is a quiet moment after dawn when the light becomes steady. It is no longer breaking or chasing the night. It simply exists. The sky is calm. The air still carries the scent of morning rain, and everything feels possible again. That is what peace truly is, not the absence of battle, but the presence of balance. After the war between light and shadow, after the storms and the waiting, the soul learns to rest without fear of the next wave. You are standing in that peace now, though it may not feel grand. Peace rarely enters with noise. It settles like dust on still water. It fills the cracks left by conflict, softens the edges of memory, and turns pain into understanding. What once hurt now instructs, What once frightened now reminds you how far you've come. There was a traveler once who spent years crossing deserts, searching for revelation. He carried scrolls, maps, and questions, believing wisdom waited in distant places. But one evening, exhausted, he collapsed beside a small spring. As he drank, he realized the water had been flowing there all along. It was not revelation that was missing. It was rest. He whispered, "I have searched the world for what was waiting inside me." That night, he slept without fear, for the first time in years. Peace, like that spring, is not found through motion, but through stillness. It is not discovered, it is remembered. Heaven planted it within you long before the storms began. The process of pain did not remove it, it only buried it under noise. When the noise fades, peace rises again. Quiet, but sure. The book of Philippians, chapter 4, verse 7, reminds us, the peace of God, beyond all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Notice that peace doesn't come to explain, it comes to guard. It stands, watch at the gates of your mind and heart, shielding you from old fears that try to return. Peace does not mean everything makes sense, it means everything is surrendered. You no longer need to fight for control. You've seen how storms obey only the one who commands them. Now, you learn to rest in that sovereignty. Peace is trust in motion, believing that even if the road bends where you can't see, it still leads to purpose. This peace does not erase your story, it redeems it. The same moments that once broke you now testify on your behalf. The failures that once haunted you become evidence of growth. You begin to understand that grace was always ahead of you, preparing the ground before your feet ever touched it. Peace also brings clarity. In its light, you see yourself as heaven sees you, no longer as a survivor, but as a vessel of calm strength. You realize that what was meant to destroy you has become the reason others will find courage. The scars on your soul are not shame, they are scripture written by endurance. Do not rush from this stillness. The temptation after breakthrough is to return to busyness, to fill the quiet with new noise. But peace is not a season to escape, it is a foundation to build upon. Learn to live from it, not just visit it. It is from this stillness that true creativity flows, that compassion deepens, that discernment sharpens. In this calm, heaven whispers new instructions. They are softer now, less about battle, more about stewardship. You are not just surviving anymore, you are cultivating. What grows in peace lasts longer than what's built in chaos. This is where purpose matures into wisdom. Look around you. The world is still noisy, still spinning, but you no longer absorb its chaos. You carry a different rhythm now, one that hums quietly beneath the surface. You are no longer driven by panic, you are guided by presence. The same light that once rescued you now radiates through you. It no longer flashes in crisis, it glows in constancy. People will feel it before they understand it. The calm around you that defies circumstance. That is not pride or mystery, that is evidence of peace. So breathe deeply. The air is clear again. The shadows have lost their claim. You are no longer standing in survival, you are standing in serenity. This is not the end of your story, it is the steady heartbeat between miracles, the holy pause before heaven writes the final chapter. Let this serenity anchor you. Carry it gently into tomorrow. For peace is not the finale, It's the rhythm of everything, eternal. When peace has settled and the heart no longer trembles, the final revelation begins. It is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet, steady like a whisper echoing through eternity, reminding you that every season of waiting, every war, every tear was never wasted. This is the moment when everything you've endured starts to align. The scattered pieces of your story turn toward one another, fitting perfectly into the design that heaven saw all along. You begin to understand why certain doors closed, why some people left, why some prayers were delayed. Nothing was random. Every moment was a brushstroke. The pain that once blurred your vision now becomes the contrast that makes beauty visible. You realize heaven was not absent, it was editing. What felt like loss was redirection. What felt like silence was incubation. This is the hour of unveiling. When purpose no longer hides behind confusion, you look back, and instead of seeing scars, you see sentences, each one telling of mercy, each one pointing toward grace. What once broke you has become proof that God's hand was steady even when yours shook. There was once an old watchmaker who spent years repairing timepieces for others, but could never fix his own. He'd grown used to its still hands, assuming it had lost all worth. One day, his apprentice found a missing cog beneath the workbench, tiny and nearly forgotten. When they placed it back inside, the watch began to tick again, softly, but perfectly in rhythm. The old man smiled through tears and whispered, "So it was never broken, only incomplete." That is what heaven whispers over you now. You were never broken, only unfinished. The same hands that held your beginnings have also held your pauses, shaping them into something whole. We are reminded through the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 35, "So do not throw away your confidence, it will be richly rewarded." And confidence here does not mean arrogance, it means trust in the story being written. It means believing the author who began your faith will not abandon the final chapter. You have come too far to doubt the ending now. The divine countdown was never toward destruction, it was toward completion. Each passing moment brought you closer not to collapse, but to clarity. The cutoff at 11:59 was never to punish, it was to awaken. Midnight was the reset, the moment heaven turned the page. Now, as the new day stretches across your spirit, you see what all the delay was for. You were not waiting for God, He was waiting for you to be ready. The promises He spoke were true from the beginning, but your heart needed strength to carry them. What once felt like unanswered prayer was heaven waiting for your capacity to expand. Every chosen one reaches this realization. Destiny isn't delivered, it's discovered. It unfolds in layers, each one timed to maturity. You could not have handled the weight of today's light in yesterday's hands. The trials were training, the pain preparation, the silence sanctification. And now, the fullness has come. You are standing where heaven intended, stronger, softer, wiser. The world hasn't necessarily changed, but you have. You carry stillness where there used to be striving, gratitude where there was grief, peace where there was panic. This is transformation, not of circumstance, but of essence. Heaven does not celebrate loud victories, it celebrates completed ones. The angels rejoice not when the battle ends, but when your heart aligns with purpose. That alignment, the joining of your will with divine will, is the truest form of worship. Look around you. The landscape of your life bears evidence of grace. What once was barren now blooms quietly. The people who once doubted you will see light in your eyes and not understand how you survived. But survival was never the goal. Resurrection was. You are no longer the one waiting for promise. You are the promise fulfilled. The countdown is complete, not because time has ended, but because eternity has entered. What once was unseen now stands before you, radiant and real. The story isn't over, it's eternal. What God began in you will ripple through generations, through unseen timelines, through hearts you will never meet. You are not a chapter, you are a continuation. You are proof that divine timing is perfect, that mercy outlasts failure, that love finishes what it starts. And so, the final words are not farewell, they are fulfillment. Heaven's clock has struck, and the light that once called your name now shines from within you. You are the continuation of that eternal dawn. You are what heaven meant when it said, "It is time." And the countdown has ended, yet the story continues through you. The light that began as a whisper now burns steady, and you carry it wherever you go. Heaven has finished its sentence, but the echo of that truth will keep speaking through your choices, your compassion, and your courage. If these words have met you in a place of stillness or awakening, let them breathe beyond this screen. When you like this message, think of it as lighting a candle in the cathedral of time, a small flame that tells heaven you are still awake. When you share, it's like opening a window in the world's night, letting light drift toward another soul who needs it. And if your spirit feels stirred, leave a comment below, perhaps just, "I'm still shining." Your words become part of a constellation drawn by faith. Each comment, a star. Each phrase, a spark, reminding the universe that light still travels through human hearts. If you wish to walk beside this light as it grows, subscribe. Think of it not as joining a channel, but as keeping your lantern close to others who burn with the same flame. The fire you stay near is the one that shapes you. And if gratitude moves you deeper, if peace itself whispers softly to your heart, donate not from duty, but from devotion. Imagine it as offering one drop of oil into the eternal lamp, a lamp that never belongs to one hand, but burns for every soul still searching in the dark. It is not demanded, it is invited, a sacred act between your heart and light itself. No matter which gesture you choose to share, a word, a seed, you are already part of the continuation. Every small action extends the dawn. Every kindness keeps the flame alive in places you may never see. Your like is a flicker of hope. Your share, a path for the lost. Your comment, a prayer written in light. Your donation, if you choose it, a breath that keeps this message alive across the silent hours. So, here we stand at the end of the countdown, yet at the beginning of something eternal. The darkness has quieted, the light has found its bearers, and because you chose to hold it, someone else, somewhere unseen, will find their way home.